Hey, hey Dominique, how are you? You were quick this morning. You must be sitting right in front of Twitter. That is awesome. Good morning, guys. How is everybody? Nikki Woods here, and we're talking about more media again. It's so exciting, the response that I have gotten to some of the conversations that we've had this week and in previous weeks to, hey Dominique, to talking about media and how to get more media for your business and your brand has been amazing. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate it. So if you guys would take just a moment to share this with your community, I would be really, really appreciative of that. Well, I appreciate you tapping over. I appreciate it a lot. So today what I want to talk about is the 4 different kinds of media that everybody should be familiar with. You know, sometimes we just say media and it kind of gets all, you know, lumped into one thing, but there are different types of media, and all 4 types of media really are beneficial for your brand. So thank you for the hearts. I always appreciate hearts on Periscope. That's hot. If you guys could share, that would be great, so that people in your community can get some useful information. That would be amazing on this Labor Day weekend. Can you believe it? It's like I woke up this morning, I'm like, oh, it's a holiday. But you know, entrepreneurs, we don't stop working. So, hey, Leon Whitfield, how are you? We don't stop working. So this is just what we do. So what I want to talk about, like I said, is the 4 brands of media. One of the things that I've been super focused on doing is really helping businesses and brands get the media that they need in order to bring the visibility that they need to their business or their brand so that it becomes sustainable. So it's awesome, you know, to get a client here or there, but what we really need is entrepreneurs and businesses and brands and coaches and speakers and authors. Hey, honey, how are you? Hey, Zach, thank you for that. Good morning. Good morning, Rashad. What we really need is a steady stream of that. Like, we constantly are on the lookout for more clients, for more visibility. We want people talking about us. We want people referring us. We want that credibility. We want it all. And what I have found, especially for my clients and even myself, my business and my brand, is that media is one of the quickest ways to do that. So, you know, I've been talking about media. I'm going to, you know, host a free webinar next Thursday at 9 p.m. Central with Coach Danielle Winningham. And it's going to be amazing. But we are really going to give you the tools. Hey, Kay Wanda, I appreciate you joining. I got to talk to you about that brunch. Kay Wanda is doing a brunch here for single moms in Dallas, and I'm super excited about it. Her and Ebony Combs. Yes, I am Nikki Woods from the Tom Joyner Morning Show. Thank you for asking me that. Her and Ebony Combs do amazing work for single moms, and so I always look to support however I can where that is concerned. So, like I said, media has changed my business completely, not just because I was a media professional for 20 years, but also because I've used media to build my business and my brand. Hey, Selena, how are you, honey? And so if you guys would take a quick moment to share, give some love. Hearts are always appreciated. I'm going to start talking about the media piece in just a second. But I want to make sure that we get this out to as many people as possible so that everybody gets the tools. You know, they always say sharing is caring. So thank you to those that have shared. Hey, Ellsworth, how are you? It's good to see you. So like I said, there are 4 different types of media, and so a lot of times we say media and we just kind of all lump it into one thing, but there really are 4 different types of media that you should be aware of. And so I'm just going to kind of explain them real quick, and then if we have questions, we can kind of talk about that as we go. So the first one is paid media. So paid media really is advertising. So whenever you pay for any kind of visibility, that's considered paid media. So that's commercials. If you pay for an interview, because some people have that kind of hustle going on. So if you pay for an actual interview, hey Michelle, how are you, darling? Hey Mike Stark, hey Ahmed, that technically is considered advertising. And so Facebook ads, anything that you do to get your brand or your business in the media, and you have to pay for that, that's called paid media. Now, earned media, this is the second one. The second one is earned media. Earned media got its name because you kind of get the results from relationships that you have or you have earned with influencers. So journalists, reporters, bloggers, and you've developed that relationship and then you leverage that relationship. So that's kind of, considered earned media. Hey, Freddie. Yeah, I'll talk about college students. And I guess you just want to know about them going into media or getting a degree in media. Yeah, I'll talk about that. So some of the things that you can do to measure, like if you have an earned relationship, like if somebody is, I'm considered an influencer. Who knew? But if you're connected to me and you're able to leverage the relationship that we have, either I put you on somewhere or I've shared some information or I've talked about you, two of the different ways that you can measure whether or not that relationship has worked for you is by looking at the web performance, like if you're getting new traffic to an initiative or to a press release or something on your website, and whether or not your audience has grown. So a lot of times, we ask, hey Gary, we're talking about new media. I mean, we're talking about the 4 different types of media for your business. So right now we're talking about earned media. So you can really tell if a relationship is working or if an interview worked, depending on what happens with your web. Ahmed said that he thinks our relationship worked for him. And it did, I think. Yes. Ahmed and I hooked up while I was working in Chicago at GCI, and Ahmed, needed a job. And so I kind of hooked him up with some people, and, now he's radio history, so it's all good. So leveraging those relationships, and one of the great things about relationships, like I never get upset or offended when somebody leverages our relationship as long as we have a relationship. So relationships are really important, even when you're looking to get media. You really want to, as I always say, the best advice I can give anybody when it comes to getting media is to develop those relationships with the journalist before you actually need it or not. So Dominique asked on Periscope, if an interview didn't work, do you not do that media outlet again, or, how should you look at it? And I think that's a great question. So for me, if you didn't see the results from an interview or an article or something like that, then I would re-examine your interview. So I would re-examine the value that you provided during your interview. I think it's rare that you don't see some kind of result based on an interview if you provided value. Now you have to weigh that against the media outlet that you're on. I mean, if they have 100 listeners, obviously the result that you're going to get is going to be a lot different than if you're on like Tom Joyner where there's 8 million. So you just have to kind of look at the result. And then I would say if you did give value, maybe there wasn't a clear call to action. So there should always be a clear call to action so that you can measure results of interviews, whether that is going and signing up for a free newsletter, whether that's downloading something, if you're actually selling something, which I don't really all recommend. But hey Charles, how are you, darling? Happy Saturday. But there should be a clear call to action. So that's leveraging the earned media. The other, this is the third one. We're talking about the 4 different types of media that every business owner or brand should know. Yes, you have to meet the need and be in demand. That's exactly right. You have to provide value and prove that there is a reason that they should be connected to you. The other thing, this is the third one, is shared media. So shared media really has a lot to do with social media and whether or not the people that follow you are engaged in your business process. So are people sharing your information? Are people retweeting your information? Are people liking your information? Are people signing up for your webinars? Are people purchasing from you? If you have followers that just kind of sit there and don't do anything and they're not engaged, then it's not really working for your business, and you need to reassess what exactly you're sharing on social media and does it pertain to your business. So we're actually doing a webinar next Thursday, and we talk a lot about how to use social media to become magnetic to traditional media outlets. But we also talk about how you as an expert should be utilizing social media, because it's really important that you have a strategy that shows your expertise. So the webinar is next Thursday at 9 p.m. Central. If somebody could type this link in the comment box, I would appreciate it. It's bit.ly/cost of fame. That's next Thursday. It's a free webinar, but we're really going to be giving you some tools and some strategies in order to build your business. So it's bit.ly/cost of fame, and I'm going to be hosting that along with a business coach, Danielle Winningham, who is phenomenal, and so it's going to be really, really interesting. So shared media is the third type of media. And two of the things that you can make sure that you're doing in order for, thank you, Dominique, I appreciate you. Thank you, guys. Two of the ways that you can measure your results there is through advertising and using PR metrics that way. I don't know how many people like actually advertise on Facebook or advertise on, thank you, Tarsha, happy Saturday to you, darling. Or you advertise on Twitter, but you can measure the metrics there and see who's all engaged. And then also how much unique content you're sharing. So you have to make sure that you're sharing a lot of content. The last one is owned media. And owned media is the content that lives on your website, whatever you put in your blog, whatever you share through emails. So the best thing about owned media is that it really integrates with all the other three. So it integrates with shared, it integrates with paid, it integrates with earned. So you really have to make sure that you're sharing that unique content. One of the things that I'm really passionate about talking about, because we're all so fascinated with Facebook, and we're also fascinated with social media. And while I think that social media plays an important part, we have to realize that we don't own any of the content that we post on Facebook. And MySpace, who remembers MySpace? Say me if you remember MySpace. So MySpace is like a perfect example of that, right? So MySpace is like, we spent all this time, and I'm from the MySpace generation, so thank you for not making me feel like I'm alone in this. But MySpace, we spent all this time building profiles and sharing pictures and doing all of this kind of stuff. Thank you, Maurice, I appreciate it. And we really don't own it. We don't own any of it. We don't own any of it. And so if, Zuckerberg and the Twitter CEO, if they all decide they just want to shut it down, all that content that we've placed on Facebook and all that time we spend building up followers, that goes away. So you really have to have a strategy on how you can corral people. You have to have a hub, and that usually, that is like your website, that is your blog, that is your email list. Good Saturday, how are you? And so you really have got to be particular about how you share content and where you send people in order to keep them, in your tribe. So I love Facebook communities. I love, everybody that knows me knows I hang out on social media all the time for business purposes. But I love social media. I love all of it. But you have got to have a place for people to go so that when you're ready to promote to them, you're ready to sell to them, whatever it may be, that they're on your turf. They're not on Mark Zuckerberg's turf. They're on your turf. So those are the four types of media. So owned media was the last one, and that's like your website, your blog. Shared media is like social media and your connections there. There's earned media, which is what you do leveraging the relationship with the media. And then there's paid media, which is really advertising. So those are really the four types of media that every business owner, every brand, anybody that's trying to build anything should be familiar with. And I think all of us utilize each one of them at some point or another. So they really all should work together. I think there's a place for all of it. The webinar that we're hosting next Thursday really is going to focus on the earned part of media and how to leverage that to build your business or brand. Thomas, Paul, I don't know what you're saying, to. So if you want to explain that, then maybe I can respond to it. And the website link for the webinar is bit.ly/cost of fame. So if you guys have any questions, we can talk about questions now, whether it's over the four types of media or over media in general. I did a Q&A yesterday that got real fun because people always have questions. And so I definitely want to make sure that you get what you need in order to be successful if you're pitching your business. One day this week, I talked about the things that ticked journalists off. And one lady got so upset with me because she's like, well, people don't know any better. They're just, they're just doing what they think is right. And I get it. I don't think that anybody is trying to do it maliciously, clearly. They just don't know the process, and they don't, I think of some of the things that I know because I was a part of the business for 20 years. So my purpose in talking about it is not to make anybody feel bad or make anybody feel wrong. It's just to let everybody know that there's definitely a better way to do it. So that is it. So, okay, well, let me answer the question that the guy had about whether or not people should go into media. I absolutely think so. And I think some of the better journalism programs, they utilize all types of media. So even when I was teaching journalism classes, my whole shtick was, incorporating new media and social media. And so the best journalism courses incorporate it all. So I think it's definitely forward thinking for most of the courses. And so I definitely recommend it. I mean, I don't think media is going anywhere, traditional or new or social. So the better you can utilize it as a career or for your business, I think is awesome. Send what kind of announcement, Tarsha? Email announcement? Tell me what kind of announcement. So we had a question on Periscope, and if you ask a question and I don't answer it, then just retype it for me because I probably missed it. But we had a question on Periscope that says, if you haven't contacted somebody on your media list for over a year, what should you do? I would send just a note. I wouldn't follow up and ask for an interview. I would just send a note and just let them know you're still there. This is the kind of value that you offer and that you want to be a resource. And then I would rekindle that relationship before you start to pitch. It really, like I said, is about the relationship. So you want to make sure that you are staying in touch. But if for whatever reason you fell off, then I would just send a note and rekindle that relationship. Well, I think nonprofit organizations, hey, Giselle, I think nonprofit organizations need media the same way. And so I would say that it would be beneficial if you're trying to get media. It's not really just profit business specific. It's for anybody, business, brand, author, entrepreneur, nonprofit, who is looking to get media. So we really help you put together strategies and tools. Hey, honey, strategies and tools to get that media. So it really, it's not really specific to just entrepreneurs or for-profit businesses. PSAs are still relevant, and PSAs are lovely because, they're free, and they're community oriented, and they tend to be a little bit more natural in voice, and media outlets have to do it. There is a certain percentage of time that you have to allow for PSAs. So they are still relevant. So Jessica, I think that once Jessica asked how you can reach a certain audience through social media. So this gets a lot into branding and into your tribe, but if you are a person who has a select audience, so say you are targeting single women over the age of 40 because you're a dating coach that helps people rekindle their love lives, I don't know. But that's your audience, single women over the age of 40. Then all of your content should say, or at least imply, that this is for single women over the age of 40 so that people can self-identify. As the expert, when you share information, you want people to be able to stand up and say, hey, that's me, you're talking to me, you're the person I need to connect with. And so if your content doesn't reflect that, people will not be able to do that. So you don't have to say this is only for single women over 40, but when you share certain tips or you share certain content or you ask certain questions, you want to keep your ideal client customer in mind so that everything is phrased in a way that attracts that ideal client. If you're doing like Facebook Facebook ads, which would be considered paid media, then you want to make sure when you do your targeting and Twitter as well, you want to make sure you do your targeting so that's the audience that it goes to. So yes, that is hopefully the answer. So Tarsha asked about press releases and if there was a good time to send a press release. I always say afternoon is the best time. Most of us, in the morning, I don't know, it just kind of gets crazy. But I don't know if there's like just a real window of time to send it. I wouldn't send it on the weekend. I would send it, Monday through Friday, normal business hours. I'd send it before 5 o'clock, before normal business hours end. But for me, most of the stuff I send, is in the afternoon, like emails, press releases, that sort of thing. Because I think people's schedules kind of slow down and they kind of gone through the hectic, overnight email system. So that's just my suggestion. But definitely wouldn't send it on the weekend. There is a strategy to pitching on the holidays, but for just sending, a time specific, a non-dated press release, I wouldn't suggest sending it on the holidays either. Any more questions? God bless you too, Frankie. Yeah, Selena, I used to do, even up until I resigned from Tom Joyner, I used to do PSAs in Chicago all the time. I mean, they're not as, there's certain types of media that's considered organic and that really works. So interviews are like the most organic. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate that. Interviews are the most organic. So everybody always wants the interview. I'll answer that. Tarsha had another question. That's a great question. So interviews are the most organic because they're conversational and they're not, and then I think PSAs tend to be in the middle, and then advertising commercials are not organic because they're commercials. So everybody always goes for the interview first, but PSAs I think are a good option. You're welcome, Minister Hawkins. So Tarsha, you know what? I disagree with that. Tarsha asked a question if it was true other media outlets don't want you to send them links to other media coverage that you've done. I don't know if I would necessarily send them a link to a competitor because that tends to irritate journalists. But I like to hear what people, especially if it's audio, but for anything, I think that we as journalists like to see a track record because, at the end of the day, your interview has to pay off for us too. So while you get extreme value for doing an interview, I mean, we get value out of it too, and we want to make sure that it's going to pay off. So before I would book somebody I wasn't familiar with, I definitely wanted to hear what they sounded like, see what they look like, to make sure that not only is the value there, but, the energy. I mean, energy is really important for on-camera, on-air interviews. So you definitely wanted to, I like to check it out. And if you don't send me links, then I'm going to Google it. But I think making the job easier for the journalist is always a good idea. But yeah, I would be careful. Like if I got something, and they were on Steve Harvey the week before, that might, play a part in my decision making just because, we don't ever want anybody to be on Steve Harvey before us. And I'm sure Steve Harvey's people feel the same way. So yeah. So you guys, make sure you go register for this webinar. I mean, it is a lot of good stuff. If you find that this is providing value, oh, that's a good question, Kwan. I'll answer that in just a second. If you think this is if this is good value, then you definitely want to be a part of the webinar. And if you love your coworkers or your colleagues or people that you know in your business besties, then invite them along. I mean, it's absolutely free. The website is bit.ly/costoffame. It's all lowercase, and it's just going to be amazing. So Kawana's question was, in branding, is it best to brand yourself or brand your business, or a combination of both, specifically as an accountant? So my sister is an accountant, Kawana, and she works for a company. She's not an entrepreneur. at all, no matter how much I try to make her one. She is not. And so my suggestion, and I'm taking it that you're an entrepreneur, just let me know if you are or not. But I think for most entrepreneurs, like, we are our business. Like, there is no separating Nikki Woods from, the person from the company. And so yeah, I think that you're branding both. I think that, we are now the ClickFunnels. I think we're now, the face of our business. Yeah. So you're really branding both. I mean, I never suggest anybody separate the two. Like, your personal brand should not be in competition with your business brand. I mean, authentically, your business should kind of follow who you are and what you do. And so I think it really is a combination of both. In fact, I do this whole presentation on the fact that I don't think that people have personal brands anymore, because we are so closely tied to our business, and social media really has become more about the business aspect of things as opposed to the personal aspect of things. I think my mom is probably the only one, or my dad now too. My dad is funny. He's on Facebook now too. But I think my mom, is the only one that just shows up to see pictures of her grandchildren. I think everybody else really is there to kind of promote their business and push their business along. So we talk a lot about pitching, because pitching really is like the most important thing, and there really is kind of like a strategy and a rhythm to pitching. So Bonnie heard me say something about getting, famous at home first. And she wants to know about that, pitching that as opposed to pitching national TV shows. So we do go through a lot about pitching in the webinar. And so you definitely want to be a part of that if you want to get your pitching skills up to par. But I do think it's easier to become famous at home first. And that's because, you're just in proximity. I mean, every local station loves, that homegrown, done good story. Good morning, Ashley Nicole Brown. I did my eyes this morning. Ashley Nicole Brown. She is my makeup artist extraordinaire. So I think she stops by to check on me to make sure I'm not looking crazy. So it is easier to get famous at home first because, like I said, it's just everybody loves that local homegrown story, but also because you're in proximity with the journalists. So you can go to events, you can meet them, you can set up meetings, you can take one to lunch. I mean, there's so many things that you can do to start to build those relationships. But pitching your local media, really, I mean, the same skills that you need to do that is what you would use to pitch any show, national or not. Really, with the pitch, the most important thing is that you are showing what value you're going to bring to that audience. It's all about that. It's about the value. And so how you expose that value is where the skill comes in. But you just, bottom line, have to know that it's all about the value that you're going to bring to any given show. And you have to make sure that value relates to the audience that you're pitching. So that really is just the bottom line. You just have to show value. But the reason I like local so much, like I said, is because it's just, they just need those stories. They need those local stories. And if you're from that area, then, I mean, it's awesome. And then, like I said, you can also establish those relationships and really become a resource to your local stations. So yay! Good talk. That was fun. So definitely, I mean, it's Saturday. I don't know what you guys are doing, but I'm going to take my boys somewhere and we're going to do something fun before I get back to work. But definitely make sure that you're a part of the webinar. It is bit.ly/cost of fame. We're going to be talking about everything from how to write a press release to how to pitch to how to create your media list and grow your media list. So it's going to be amazing. All right. So I appreciate you guys. I will see you next time. I'll probably pop on later because I want to have some fun chat. I want to just talk about nothing. So hopefully I will see you guys later. You guys have a great day.